We hope that you're having a great day over here in Georgia. It is actually 81 degrees, so quite a warm February day, which is completely unheard of. So we hope that wherever you're joining us from, you're having a wonderful, beautiful day. So, again, welcome to Roots Connections on Q, right here on Q95, the big station. It is great to be back with you for another episode. This is our number one program for navigating how, despite the challenges, we can position Dominica to reap the benefits of this ever changing world. So we explore what in the world around us is changing and evolving, what are new approaches we should consider adopting in various aspects of our life, what are the challenges and opportunities, especially financial opportunities, and how our Dominican experts at home and abroad can guide us in navigating these changes. So, how was your carnival 2023? As for me, all I have to say is what a wow, 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 wow. This was undoubtedly a very successful 2023 carnival season, which ended yesterday, Tuesday. But we have to keep in mind that Tewe Baval is a tradition in the Kalinago territory, as well as my mom's village, Dublin. So that is still going on this evening. So officially we end on Tuesday, but in these two communities, we go on until Wednesday, Ash Wednesday, for those of us who celebrate. And let me just say a couple of things before we begin the discussion. I know that officially Mighty D won road match, but from all accounts, it seems like Celine Dion was going to be the winner. So you can already tell that we have a lot to talk about in this conversation. And just as importantly, let us officially say congratulations to the Dominica Festival Committee. Lorraine, please mute your mic as you come in. Let us say congratulations to everyone who ensured that Carnival 2023 in Dominica was a success. So the Dominica Festival Commissions Committee, as well as everyone involved in the opening of Carnival, the festivals, Calypso, the pageants. We have so many people to thank for a successful Carnival 2023. And just as importantly, the Dominica Police Department, because I think we are all very concerned around the time of Carnival that we want to see an incident free carnival where people are able to simply enjoy the celebrations without any incidents. So, again, congratulations to everyone who was involved in ensuring a successful Carnival 2023. But the question we have to ask this evening is, where do we go from here? Now that we have seen the hunger, the enthusiasm for our carnival, for our culture, do we simply pull down the curtains, close the curtains, and say, oh, well, until next year? Or do we grab the opportunity and say, how can we ensure that we create opportunities year round so that those who benefited from Carnival 2023 will continue to benefit on a yearly basis? So that is going to be our discussion this evening. And I am so grateful. We have a wealth of information. Our experts are here. We have Miss Carla Armour, and let me say a very special thank you to Carla Armour, because you won't believe I was busy sharing the flyer today that we're going to be on this evening. And Carla, in a matter of minutes, said, I would like to make a contribution. And I thought to myself, wow, a perfect person to make a contribution to this discussion. So I want to thank Carla and all our other guests who always readily accept the invitations to come on this program to share the expertise and to provide us with some guidance. I want to thank Kenty, who is joining us here. Kenton Seja, he will be our expert in the area of music. We also have Miss Lorraine Delson, who is based in Canada, a fashion designer for over 30 years and heavily involved in Madame Waduet, both in Dominica and Canada, and in so many other ways continues to give back to Dominica. And we also want to thank Miss Audrey George, who is out there in Orlando, Florida. So we're covering all our bases. Audrey George is, I want to say, the president. She will let us know in a little while, of the Dominica Orlando movement. So she represents one of our organizations in the diaspora, which is doing an incredible job of promoting our culture. So tonight it is all about how do we take the carnival and the culture beyond the festivals and make it a yearly opportunity to reap the benefits, the financial benefits for our Dominican brothers and sisters at home and abroad. So let us have our guests unmute their mics. I'm going to go ahead and jump on Facebook and start sharing the live to various platforms. But in the meantime, we will begin with you, Ms. Delson. Lorraine, please unmute your mic and just kind of give us another bit of an introduction of who you are and the role you play in culture.
Well, I'm Lorraine Delson. I moved here to Toronto. I'm saying here, I'm in Antigua right now. But when I talk about here, I'm actually talking about Toronto in 1968. And I've been running my own business, House of Lorraine, since 1976. So I've been at it for a very long time. And I did a lot of, I'm still doing a lot of fashion shows. Actually, I was the first Black designer in Toronto to produce major fashion shows, which were quite successful. That all the various nightclubs, the posh downtown ones, they would actually come to me and ask if I would mind coming to and do a show in their place, because I had such a following that when I did a show, the customers came back. If they liked the place, they came back. So it was a plus for the owners of the establishments when I did a show on their facilities. Yeah. And
Yes.
of course, I am also very, very involved in the Madame Waduet Canada. I'm actually the president of Madame Waduet Canada Inc. And we do the cultural show every year. And we also do the Tea Madame, which is what they call the Tea Matador in Dominica. And we do that yearly. And but unlike Dominica, where culture is only it's very big around Independence time, in Toronto we do culture year round.
Mm-hmm.
Like anytime we are called on to make an appearance, it's going to be a cultural appearance. So we actually performed in a city of Belleville last year in June. And it was the very first time they had a Caribbean festival in Belleville, and we were invited to perform. Mm-hmm. So, of course, we did our theme song dance, showed off all our warps, beautiful, and the people enjoyed it. And we did another cultural, more hip-hop type of dance as well. Mm-hmm. But if all young Dominicans of maybe second and third generations, I keep them grounded and keep them in the culture. So we take them from the time I see the babies, I say, okay, that's going to be one in so many years. So we do promote culture year round, and not like Dominica where it's just around Independence time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing. Carla, let me come over to you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Little problem with my volume, but I think I'm hearing pretty much everything.
Yeah, just try to speak up so we can hear you a little clearer.
Again?
Yes, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, you can hear me. Okay. All right. So, well, when you sent that thing to me, I thought, oh boy, we've been having so many discussions. But more so, I think what your topic about the culture for the next generation, I was intrigued by that topic, the concept of that topic. So who am I? Well, basically, we about the culture of Dominica and how can we take it to the next generation or for the future generations. I have really been, apart from all the health and wellness I do, I have been in tourism pretty much all my life. And a large part of it had been in marketing and selling Dominican experiences. I remember even from my childhood going with my parents to the French Islands and to different islands and countries to promote Dominica. And for me, our culture was always something that I grew up promoting and advertising about Dominica, because Dominica is very different from the other Caribbean islands. What we always saw was our heritage, our natural and cultural heritage of Dominica. And for me, from a tourism standpoint, I think a lot of people in Dominica do know that I've been involved in tourism. And it's it's what we have is very different um, for to offer. Our carnival is different, our independence is different. A lot of things we do, we have quite a unique take on it. And I don't know if it's because I believe it is because that we have it, as you just said, at the village level, at the community level, at the grassroots level, and these things are infused with our traditions. So it would be interesting to see how we could take these traditions and weave them into an evolving culture that can be a long-term lively, sustainable livelihood. And that's where the whole carnival concept comes in. That, like from yesterday, I believe, from yesterday, your band goes on the road and you've already launched 2024's designs. So when people are in the heat of it, they're like, oh my gosh, we've got to do this again. They go on next.
Mhm.
So the costumes can be either locally made or sourced, that the elements can be put together in Dominica. We can look at the sustainable natural ways of doing things because I just wonder about the environment and the costumes afterwards. These sorts of things come to mind when we talk about just drawing the curtain, as you said, Simone. But also that's from my standpoint. It's always about how can something be sustainably done for generations. That it's always like a gentle evolution of what is really true to us, you know. And just in the finishing of introducing myself and where I come from with this concept is that I think that I mentioned to you, Simone, that for my master's thesis, I actually wrote on developing and designing and developing and delivering authentic destination experiences through events. So you will really look at how you can authenticate every experience, every touch point of the event, whether it's from the way the stores are set up on the side of the streets, the way they are advertised, the foods that they sell, what we wrap those foods in, all of those elements could be actually industries developing within Dominica that could make a whole year-round industry out of it. So for me, talking on the topic, this is where I come from with my passion. And yeah, I'm sure during the discussion more will come up to what it used to be. But yes, but I am in Dominica right now. And I took my good foot for Carnival for the first time. I was as a darkie or the Black Devils with the Good Hope group. And it was probably the most amazing experience of Carnival that I have ever had. I don't even want to talk too much about it because it was so immersive. Every step of it was just so beautiful. It was just such an eye opener. It was just absolutely, and I really, really, really think that, oh my God, I have so much more to do with those darkies and the people from Good Hope. So watch this space.
Yes, yes, and I'm really happy that you're on the ground. Kent is on the ground, so you can tell us what the authentic experience is like. Audrey, let's come to you. Kenty, I'm sure you don't mind, ladies first. So, Audrey, let us come over to you so you can introduce yourself to the audience.
Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Audrey George, and I'm originally hailing from the beautiful village of Kalibishi. And been away from since 1991. Oh, seems like such a long time ago. So I'm living in Orlando, and professionally, I am in finance industry. So basically, I guess I got a head start from home. Growing up back home, I grew up in my mom's and pop's shop, and finance money was just my thing, I guess. So I am an investment banker in the finance industry, and that's what I've been doing for the long time. Do hold a master's in the finance. So that's my field right here. Professionally, on a social level, I'm also the president of the Dominica Orlando movement. Our organization has been around from since 2015 after the devastation of Erica, and healed us where we had to take a step forward to help our brothers and sisters back home. The Dominica Orlando movement, one of our goal, our active the objective of the entire for the group is keeping the culture alive, getting the community together, helping our brothers and sisters home. And we have never lost focus of that. When it comes to culture, we strive as much as possible to include not just the older generation, but we include the young kids. Something to the effect where Lorraine stated earlier. Um, I think each one of us, the officers, the members that have kids, we get them involved in the group so that the culture will be keeping alive. And that's what we do. We try our best. Like my kids are in it, my officers' kids are part of it. They become officers eventually in the group because we want to make sure when we don't have the strength to be there anymore, we have them to carry on the culture of Dominica. Um, we do hold several events throughout the year. We do not just stop at just one event. However, we have two main events which have been going on for the last 8 years, and that's our Independence in the Park. It is a quail event. We will have all our quail food and all our Dominican food. We do have an end of year event where we strategize to target a specific nonprofit organization in Dominica that we donations and all our fundraising events will go towards that. So that's my passion. It's not something that just started by being up here. It's something that's been around. I've been in it from since back home. For those of you who remember youth division,
Mhm.
back in the days, grew up in Catholic church with the youth division and all of that. That was it. So I just feel like the culture is something that, in my opinion, that we are losing hand of, and we really have to hold tight with that. I know Carla and Kenty maybe enjoyed the carnival back home, and I would like to hear so much more about it. And I view so many things. Oh my gosh, I could not even work yesterday. I was just on Emo News all day long.
When we both
But it was quite amazing. A lot to see, a lot to see, a lot to speak about. And definitely I will have my views later, Simone,
yes.
on keeping the culture alive.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you for that. So, Kenty, before we come to you, let us also say a pleasant good evening to Miss Annette Phillips. She was supposed to be here with us as well, but unfortunately, she's under the weather. So, Annette, we hope that you feel better. And we see that everyone is coming in on Facebook. So, come on in. And remember to post a message. Let us know where you're joining us from, because sometimes if you don't post a message, I can't see you to acknowledge that you're with us. So, post the message. Julie Polito, thank you for being here. And thank you for sharing the live as you come on in. So, Kenty, let me come over to you for your introduction.
Well, hi everyone. My name is Kenton, better known as Kenty. I'm in the field of art in every entirety of the sense. I'm a musician, recording artist. Professionally, I've been working as an entertainer for the past 13 years, about on cruise ships, performing and entertaining music. And after the pandemic, I started a small handyman business. So currently, I'm in the field of professional handyman services. So I do a variety of different things as it relates to art. I seem to be really good with my hands. So that is where I seem to be, thriving the most.
Yeah.
Um, I've been home for a while, and to tell you the truth, it's been wonderful. I This is the longest I've been home for since 2009. Normally, I would come home for like a month and a half, 2 months, but I've been home for like almost 3 years, and it's been wonderful. To tell you the truth, I've been enjoying myself. Has its challenges, but it's home. Home is where the heart is, as they always say. And I think I couldn't miss being part of that discussion when Simone contacted me about the culture. So much, so much so that I actually was having a conversation earlier on, before you actually messaged me, Simone, and with a friend of mine, and we was discussing, like we've been losing so much of the things that we would be doing back in the day to keep the vibe, the culture going. And I think with the new generation that is coming up, if we don't, if we as the ones that has been there in it, like Audrey was saying, if we don't bring the young people in there, we'll swiftly lose that culture, which we don't want to we don't want that to happen. I think we are one of the countries in the Caribbean that cherish, our culture the most. And I think we should try our very, very utmost best to maintain that. So I would like to be sharing my views later on, but I just wanted to use that small moment to introduce myself.
Yes, thank you. And thank you everyone for being here. And I think, and we heard the passion in Wadix this morning as he talked about Carnival 2023. But a prominent question that is popping up when we discuss Carnival 2023 is, are we losing our authenticity? Right? So are we moving the way of Trinidad and thereby losing our authentic Dominica carnival culture, which is what we can really sell as unique and different? But before we do, if you're just joining us today on Roots Connections, we are talking about what are the opportunities to make our carnival and culture marketable products for sale to the world. How are we securing our culture and embracing opportunities to sell it to the world, to pass it on to the next generation, and so much more? So again, we're looking forward to hearing from you, our audience on Facebook and YouTube, as well as your calls. So this is episode number 42 of Roots Connections for today, February 22nd, 2023. And I am your host, Simone Mathieu. Good evening to our listeners again, our Facebook Live viewers on Q95 FM radio, as well as Push Past 10 and Q95 FM radio on YouTube. Don't forget, for the best in programming, to log on to q95da.com, and you can also check out past episodes of our programs, including the last one we did on how we can overcome toxic masculinity as gender roles continue to change. So again, we are happy that our experts are here. We say good evening to the Q95 family, Mr. G, as well as Lambi on the console, who will take our calls, and Sherwin Norris, our engineer, as well as DJ Shan. And we always do everything that we do in memory of the most vulnerable in our society, including little Kanisha Etienne, who is missing, and now the vulnerable women, such as the memory of Velma Valmont and Avenel Charles. So again, we are back to talk about investing in me, investing in us, and the action plans, because I think year after year, we keep having these conversations about how do we move forward. But tonight, I want us to talk about what is an action plan we can create to actually get this done. We know that there's a national policy surrounding culture and investing in culture and earning revenues from the different aspects of culture, but we don't really see it being implemented on a year-round basis. So I want us as a community, a Dominican community at home in Dominica and overseas, to create our own agenda, our own action plan, to include those on the panel, as well as folks like, Wadix and Sobers Esprit and Gregory Rabes and everyone else who has such a passion, and we really want to see this culture move beyond what it was. So again, we just saw the passion, and it felt like Dominica was about to sink with the amount of people I saw in Dominica. So let us just first talk about a post-mortem of Carnival, the good, the bad, and the spectacular, because there's nothing ugly about our culture. So we will eliminate the good, the bad, and the ugly, and we'll say the good, the bad, and the spectacular. So anyone feel free to chime in your observations about Carnival 2023, the good, the bad, and the spectacular.
Well, I mean, my good for me was, I mean, I'm a calypso lover. So I look forward to the calypso. I look forward to the show. I went home early, paid my dues, and signed up just to make sure I'm there on time. I know the rain was kind of held it up a little bit. So that was one of the good things. I mean, funny enough, I mean, I'm not really much of the Queen show person. I'm just one of the calypso lover, So, however, I think it was we had some really beautiful ladies, so that was really good. We still have that participation of how the ladies still wanted to go out and get one. We had a excellent congratulations to the Queen for 2023. She did a great job, and I just watched some snippets of it online later down. However, I love the idea that they had a mother queen and they showcased her during the Calypso show. That was excellent. That was great. I love the Calypso. That was one of the good because the winner, the king, he stepped up the game. And that's something I liked what he did because it's going to put more pressure going forward to have a little more step up. So I think the show altogether, Calypso wise, it was great. Um, One of my other good, I think the carnival altogether was excellent. They had a lot of people. I love the flow. Monday was a holiday, so I stayed the entire day, stuck to the TV, watching everything going on with the from Juve. I wake up early just to watch Juve and all of that stuff in my village and in Rosa. Um, the that was my good. We don't have a bad. What the spectacular? Oh my gosh. There was a lot of spectacular. Should I put it into words? I mean, I'm very liberal with things, so I think it's all about what fits your boat. If you feel like you want to flow to that range, you flow to it. I'm not gonna be that kind of person to really be judgmental about certain things. Um, but I think that it was a little bit different from Dominica, but that's expected because there is a shift in how things are being done now. So anything is expected. There is a shift with our culture. There is a shift with the young people. What are they driving towards? What is really attracting them? And we just have to accept that the things that those that were born in the 70s and up, what we look to now is a little bit different from the millennials. So things are a little bit different. So that's that's what we have to expect. What something that really took me quite by surprise that I did not hear much calypso on the street, was expecting much more calypso on the road. Was I look forward to that. So when I heard it, I was quite enthused. I was like, oh yeah, that's a calypso coming in. I could hear that. And even they played some of the old calypso. I felt really good about that. Um, um, there was a lot of booyah music, and I'm not hitting booyah music because I have a lot of young family members that love it. So I'm not gonna hit the booyah music. I kind of wasn't too much about the soca music because I really felt like I wish we had more. I could go with the booyah music, but because one of us, ASA is one of us, Signal Band, Triple K, that's one of our homegrown people. But soca music, I wasn't too much about. Although I'm a big soca lover, but not for Dominica, not so much of it on the streets. That's my input so far.
Yes, yes. Thank you. Anyone else?
Well, when it comes to carnival, I am an everything carnival person. There isn't any part of carnival I don't like. Queen shows, princess shows. As a matter of fact, I have done gowns in the past. I have sponsored Madame Wob has sponsored the Mother's Queen show. We sponsored the princess show. And playing mass, I like that. I would dance to Swinging Stars until 3 a.m., drive up to Grand Bay and just change my clothes, and up the road I am into Juve until about 8 a.m. And then I just go home, I change and get ready for my band in town. So it's just like the only thing I haven't done yet, I haven't been a sensei. I haven't had on a sensei costume yet. And I was planning to do that this year, but unfortunately I didn't get to. But all my pieces are together. And next year, God willing, I am going to do, I'm going to run sensei.
Mhm.
And it's very good to see we still keep that culture. And the sensei is still big, the black devil, the neck maon. I still am very happy that we are still keeping that and not just the skinny costume, the skinny modern day costumes. I still like the very old fashioned mask costumes. And I still like the fact that we have a lot of Lapo cabwits on the road, even if you don't see much of it in Roseau except at Juve time. But it's good to see that we've kept that culture going, and I hope we continue to do that.
Yeah, and that's part of the authentic part of the
Right,
culture that we're
right.
referring to. Kenzie,
Yeah.
Carla? Carla?
Okay. Well, I want to just stick a pin, Simone, and just have to ask you to include the bad as well. Because one point I want to make, and I know it will be controversial, and I really don't care. I don't think it's right for us to have pornography being infused in songs all over the country. You go to a restaurant, you have children there, and it's blatant pornography. And something has to be done about that. Because if it was a video showing that same pornography, it would be illegal. Sexually explicit, detailed lyrics of songs, for me, was really revolting. And I would walk into a place and I would hear that, and I would literally feel sick, physically ill by what I was exposed to. And I think that is something, looking and reviewing this year, I don't understand where that comes from. I don't understand how that is art, how that is culture, how that is anything that is respectful. It is a disrespectful thing, and I can see, I mean, I'm the kind of person, I am quite a vocal person. I give my opinion, it's my opinion. I don't expect to have the same opinion as anybody else. But I would really like to see where we look at our traditional, not just costumes, our traditions of who we really are as a people, and how this evolves as the years, the centuries, the decades go by. And what does it mean when we wear something, when we expose ourselves in certain ways, when we enjoy certain things? What is the message that we are giving of who we truly are? Is it just like any other culture? Is it that we have thought about what's on our bodies? You know, I've had this discussion. It's not just this year. I've had this discussion on numerous occasions. And I think the ladies, we had a nice heated discussion the other day with some ladies, and it was about, they call it sexual liberation, you know? But I wonder who really is being objectified in all of this, and where we're going to with the direction we're going. So I wanted to throw that out there before we go back to the fabulous, the spectacular, and the good. That did bother me. And I would have to be honest here, because you know me, I always come up. So both sides of the coin is what you see with me. Obviously, I'm not saying the costumes are not beautiful. When you see them, a sea of these costumes and all of these studdings put on them, and it's really, you people work hard to prepare them, to create them.
I've built costumes. I know what it takes to do it. So I do admire and respect and give kudos to people who are building the costumes and making all these costumes for these bands. And in a sea of these costumes, they really do look spectacular, you know. But I just wonder, you know, what more could we do with the concept of what is offered to the bands. So if I'm offered plastic feathers from China to pollute our environment afterwards, and that's what's on offer, I want to be in a band. Of course, I want to take it. If I'm offered something that looks like a feather or looks like something out of nature and is made with something ecological, and that it looks spectacular, I'm like saying, I'm in that band because that's my band. And the costume is fantastic, it's spectacular. But you know, I think that it's a nice time for us to look and see how can we do things right here instead of, you know, costumes not arriving on time, certain things not arriving because people or maybe they are launching too late, maybe, or signing up too late. I don't know what the issue is. I would have to ask the bands because I know not one or two, it was more than two bands that had issues with receiving stuff to finish costumes. So what can we do locally that then creates part of the traditions and cultural expression is also giving us feeding our pockets. So the money is circular in our economies. So our culture is feeding us. And that's what I would like to see happen more, you know. For me, spectacular. I love, love, love the calypsos. I love the Stokat Carnival and the calypsos. I think the bouillon stuff should be left for personally for for independence time and stuff when we have more of the Creole. Personally, I mean, I was following Thunderbirds, and I love that music. It's a lot of old-fashioned, old-style music. It's a lot of the calypsos, and it's a beautiful environment. It's a beautiful spirit, and I think I would challenge anybody to say that it wasn't really nice and fun and a nice tempo. You know, sure, people like to have it ragadang, ragadang, jam, 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 jam as well. That's their choice. But I found that the presentation that like Thunderbirds gave, and just these kind of bands that look to the traditions with the sensei and stuff, I found that really, really spectacular. What I found also with the bands this year, I found there was, I know, I'm trying to remember the name of it. There was one really big band. I did find that the bands were not so well patronized as years before that I have seen. I don't know if it's just because of coming out of COVID and other things happening. But I didn't think that all the bands were that big. And I heard a lot of people saying that as well from what I saw. I don't know what you all think, the other thing that we're here in Dominica. It's one thing to see it with the drone footage and then one thing to see it with the with with the films because obviously they're gonna get crowds and that's what they're filming, you know. But I'm sure if you look at the live footage, you will see quite a lot of times when they were sparse, the population of the bands had sometimes when it was sparse. So that's just some of the thing. But look, I had a really good time. I did my Juve with Chupul. the Juve man Chupul, this the name alone make you want to party.
Yep.
We were pirates. I had a blast. It was good music, good drink, it was good people, just fabulous. And then, as I said, I was, you know, in the darkies. And I don't know if this is a good time, Simone, for me to just explain a little bit more about what I experienced in the darkies.
Yeah, let me come back to you on that. Let me go to Kenty, but make a note of that point, Carla. And as we go to Kenty, you know, I am happy that you brought up the elephant in the room, the vulgarity, the lyrics. I mean, how much further, how much more degrading can our lyrics go? And then, you know, what we hear all the time is that, oh, well, y'all were not paying attention to this particular artist when he was singing clean lyrics. So it almost like it justifies that they keep producing this music despite the objections because that is how they're getting the attention. And you know, I was really happy with the response I received when I shared the flyer. And one of the people who reached out to me was Tad Black Pepper James. And he said, Simone, that last song with the guy talking about put your hand where and put it in your mouth and all that stuff. He said that song, in the same way, Suki Burn Brain, we have to call their names, made that other song about the gripping and started getting offers around the Caribbean and even beyond the Caribbean. It's the same way that this song now has propelled this guy to perform in the Caribbean. So it is a catch 22. What do we do about this? And I'm also happy to hear when Mrs. Delia Coffee Weeks talked about consulting with a lawyer, because we have to put a stop to this increasingly vulgar lyrics. And the sad part about it is that there is no way to insulate your children in Dominica, because you step on a bus. And I was in Dominica with my 11-year-old, so I know what I'm talking about. You step on a bus and you do not dare tell the bus driver, can you change that song? Because the thing he will tell you is, if she doesn't hear it in my bus, she's going to hear it on the street. So what do we do, Kenty, about these lyrics as you come on to tell us your observations about Carnival? But that is the elephant in the room, the vulgarity that is constantly permeating through our society. What is the solution?
Well, to tell you the truth, I personally will never and not disagree with Carla for making that very, very, very well needed observation. I actually recently released a song and talking about that type of stuff. That if that is the only thing we can sing about, since when, we know about masking songs, but I think we're living in a generation where you have people that just so rebellious, and they know the consequence. They know what they're singing about, and they'll just do it anyway. I think it's just being malicious and rebellious. And controversy, sadly, in the industry sells.
Mm-hmm.
Just like back in the day, it used to be sex that was selling. Right now, it's controversy. If people, I don't agree with it, to tell you the truth, but that's just the fact of what that is happening, and that is why you have, the gripping song that the guy dropped, and it became like so big. Nobody could understand why that song was getting so big. It did, and it's all because of controversy. I think we need to educate our children about the dangers of what we open them to. I would like to appeal to the artists that releasing those songs, man. Those guys tend to forget that one day they're going to be parents, they're going to have children, they're going to have daughters. And I don't think that none of them would want nobody to be addressing their daughter or their mother or their auntie like that. You understand? So totally, I definitely agree with what you guys are saying concerning the lyrics. I think the lyrics are very vulgar. But unfortunately, rebellion and controversy sells. Unfortunately, in the industry, that is just what that sells. And it's very sad. And I think we just need to come up with a whole different set of artists. And another thing that I noticed, Simone, as an artist, that the industry doesn't promote the artist that doesn't sing those types of music. If you understand what I'm saying, it's like we have a lot of artists that doesn't sing that type of music. A lot in Dominica. But you don't hear this type of music in Italy. Whether it is for political reasons or religious reasons or whatever the reason is. But as soon as something is controversial, that's what you'll be hearing everywhere, all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very sad. And I think we need to get back to the place where we uplift our people in every aspect of our lives and their lives, even as artists, as entertainers, even with the costumes. One of the most amazing thing that I enjoyed the most about the carnival was to see, the diaspora come and people come down. They haven't been home for a while, in carnival, and then, the little vibes, and then it is really sad, when people come home and they try to have a good time. Like you said, you came with your 11-year-old, and then you have to infuse all garbage. So it's very sad, but that is just the reality that we live in, and there is definitely something that we need to be doing about it. And I think every artist that would agree with me, I think it's supposed to start with us.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think it has to go beyond just speaking to the artist. I think it has to go to the point where there's censorship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the
Yeah.
same way, you
Exactly.
cannot play that type of vulgar music on American TV or on local radio in the US. It is censored. And if people want to buy the music, you label it as, X-rated or whatever, parental advisory, and you put a label on it. But I think, Delia is on the right track, that there has to be a move, because if you leave it up to the artists, we are seeing the direction that they're going. And like
Yeah.
I said, it is a misconception that quality music doesn't sell. Look at Signal Band. And I was hoping that Shelly would have been here with us, but he's been like going crazy all carnival long, so he's tired. But look at Signal Band. The quality of the music defies the argument that if we
Mhm.
produce clean lyrics, it will not sell. So we have to get to the point, and I really hope that the powers that be will take this seriously, because we're seeing there's no end in sight. There is no end in sight. We're just continuing along this slippery slope of profanity and degrading women and vulgarity. So censorship has to be the answer to revoking this guy's ability. For you can make your music. I don't care. If that is what is in your heart and your soul, you can go ahead and produce that music. But it should not be forced onto the public, like Carla was just saying. It should not be forced onto our very impressionable young children, because that is how you feel you can make a name for yourself. But before we continue, so I just want us to keep in mind that we are talking about how can we sell the authentic Dominican carnival, the authentic Dominican culture year round. And I already like where this discussion is going, because like Carla said, we're talking about sustainability. Like Lorraine and Audrey said, we're talking about passing it on to the next generation. So we're looking at two things here. We're looking at how do we pass it on to the next generation, but also how do we market it as authentic Dominica culture, authentic Dominican carnival that sets us apart from the other islands. And Facebook, I see your comments are coming in, so keep them coming. Thank you so much. And I saw that Rasmo also sent me a message that we will read a little while later. But before we continue, let me also say this. Our politicians, they're going to be quick to claim this as their success. But I just want us to keep in mind that this 2023 carnival, the success that we saw, was because of us, because of we Dominicans in Dominica and in the diaspora, the Dominicans on the ground who patronized everything, who signed up for the costumes, who went to the shows. Those of us up here out of Dominica who shared like crazy. I don't know how many different shows I shared, and who also paid for the live streams. So when the politicians come out, because by tomorrow, they're going to come out and say, oh, look at how successful we gave you a good carnival. I want us to remember that this success is a Dominica success. It is you and I that ensured that Carnival 2023 was a success. So any other thoughts that you guys want to share before? Oh boy, the time is moving quickly, guys. Any other thoughts you want to share before I ask another question?
Yes, I mean, and what Carla mentioned, I actually with those songs, I haven't really listened to the songs because I listened to a clipping someone sent me on WhatsApp, and that was it. And I was like, oh no, I cannot listen to the songs. However, I do think, I mean, I feel like we can speak about this forever.
Mhm.
In order for us to be censored with those songs, there is no type of censorship in Dominica. That's the bottom line. And we could try to avoid it and speak about it from January to December. It has to come from the top. It has to come where the government overall has to look at the song, listen to the song, and say, we cannot do that song. Unless it doesn't come to the top, unless a bill doesn't pass where we have censorship put into place, it's going to come out. Because the way it is in Dominica with these artists and those songs, nobody says anything. It just goes out. Nobody censor them. Nobody
Yes.
say you cannot play it. It just goes out. There is no rules or regulation, you know? And that's the reason why we have to end up coming speaking about it. But we cannot change anything unless someone in the top decide, okay, this is not right. We need to have some type of censorship group or that's restriction. I mean, we have several restrictions in Dominica for certain things. You cannot do this, you cannot plant on this, you cannot travel with crab. We talk about we cannot take crab and go away. So if we can talk about taking crab back and go someplace, why can't we speak about what can go into the media and what cannot go into the media? That's something that's not even something that we can address on our level. It has to go above our head. That's plain fact.
Mhm.
Unless it's not going to stop.
And it is pornography. Carla, you're right. It is
Exactly.
pornography.
It
We,
is.
we may not label it as that, but again, if there was a video playing with that same content, it would not be allowed. So why is it being allowed simply because it is in the form of a song?
Simone, if I could make a couple comments on this. First of all, you talk about what direction are we going? And I don't think we can go in any further direction. I think this is rock bottom.
Hmm.
I cannot imagine it getting worse, to be honest with you. Like Audrey said, I just listened to one clip and I was revolted. I went into a restaurant yesterday after, on the way home to get some food, and then this song came on, and I was like, "Why are you playing this?" I said, "Like, take that off. It's offensive to me." And he simply took it off and he put on some nice music. And then this guy that was right next to me said, "Thank you." This gentleman was sitting right next to me there. I guess he was waiting for his food. And he literally said to me, "Thank you," because that is just really nastiness. He told me that himself. So when people say, don't say, "Oh, you not have your own opinion, you cannot force it on other people." There may be 5, 10 people in the same space that are really too afraid to say, "Please, can you relieve us from this?" So that's one thing. Two, I don't think we can go much further than that. I don't know also whether there's a breakdown in our education system that is teaching children, or the lack thereof, teaching them about poetry and literature, teaching them about metaphors and imagery, and all those sorts of things, where you can take a song and twist the words, which has been done in Calypso for decades and generations, that it means something else. And it's only when you get into an adult age you realize what something really was meaning. But at the time, as a children and stuff, you don't realize what it doesn't occur to you because it's a metaphor used for something else. So people older are laughing at it and you're chipping with it. But it's not this offense and abuse and this assault. It's literally an assault. Now, also, when you desensitize people to being, I don't even want to say the words, your hand on you, whatever, you start to desensitize people. So when somebody does that to you, you feel, is it wrong for me to be offended by this, or should I allow this to happen to me? Next thing you know, all this abuse and assault is just getting worse and worse and worse. And then you will be hearing about rapes and more violence and all kinds of things. I mean, what is going on? So definitely, I think we can make a difference if more of us say no, more of us ask for something to be done about it. And then I think that maybe there will be some kind of censorship, but it cannot get worse. And it cannot, this is our legacy, Dominica's legacy. This cannot be Dominica's legacy, for crying out loud.
Yeah, and it just begs the question. I mean, yes, it is taking booyah artists around the Caribbean and even beyond the Caribbean, but is that what we want Dominica to be known for? Is
Cannot be
that
our
what
legacy.
we want to be taken out of Dominica and shown to the world that this is the people we are? Because they're representing us. They're representing us every time you step out of Dominica. As a matter of fact, me as a Dominican, every time I open my mouth, I'm proud to say, "Oh, where's your accent from? Dominica."
Yeah.
So when we step into another territory, we are representing Dominica. So is this vulgarity we want people to associate Dominica with in terms of what these booyah artists are taking around the Caribbean? So, Lorraine, let me come to you for your thoughts. I see the time is quickly speeding up on us. We're going to head over to the phones in just a little bit. But, Lorraine, let me hear your thoughts. You're muted.
Yes, I heard some bouillon lyrics. I mean, I have nothing against bouillon music, but I heard some of the lyrics of some songs that's on YouTube, and I was oh boy, I was so disappointed because they could be equally be done with cleaner lyrics and still have the same effect. There's no need for all this vulgarity. So I totally agree. There should be a ban on certain types of music, certain lyrics. There should be a ban.
Yes, yes. So as we get ready to go to the telephone, guys, this is what I want you to think about for when we come back. In your various fields, what can we do to keep the momentum going on a year-round basis? So, Lorraine, in the area of fashion, in the area of costumes, in the area of, the beautiful wear that we saw for the Carnival Queens, how can we keep that going on a yearly basis? Kenty, how can we keep promoting our artists on a yearly basis so that we keep that momentum, that energy from Carnival going right through the year? Audrey, I want you to tell us more about how the Dominica Orlando movement is keeping culture alive on a yearly basis. Maybe we can take some ideas from you in terms of what can we be done on a yearly basis. And Carla, you're all encompassing, so I'm sure you'll have lots more thoughts on the sustainability, because I like the idea that you're proposing, and that should be part of our action plan. If we create our own costumes, Carla, we employ people for the entire year. Because rather than thinking about shipping costumes in that look exactly like the costumes in Trinidad and exactly like the costumes you can see anywhere else in the world, right? We create our own costumes. We have so much raw material in Dominica. We create our own costumes and we sell it as authentically Dominican. And we keep our people employed for the entire year. So that is what I want each one of you to think about as we go over to the telephone. We take some calls if anyone would like to call in. And of course, we have some great Facebook comments that I want to go over and take. So Lambi, over to you.
You're listening and viewing Roots Connection and Q. The numbers are as follow: 449-3095, 449-3096, 449-3097, 616-4257. The international number, 305-432-9624. Let me run this one more time. 449-3095-96 and 97, 616-4257, 305-432-9624. Back to you, Simone.
Yes, thank you for that. And before we head over to Facebook, we have a phone call. Go ahead.
Yes, we do have a call on the line. Caller, please go ahead.
Good evening, guys.
Good evening.
I want to express my total disappointment also with the coordinators and organizers of those bands that were exposed on display during our jump up. It's so disappointing. You cannot tell me that COC didn't make it a point of duty to have an idea as to what those female outfits are going to be like. I fail to believe that. And that should be an eye-opener for them. I want to give them the benefit of the doubt that they didn't know. But Papa Bon Dieu, next carnival, they have to make it their business, their duty, to see to it that, I mean, I saw a lady yesterday with that kind of stupid suit on her, with a little child holding in her hand. It might be her child or her grandchild. Yeah? So that is what you're emulating. The authorities haven't seen it. Huh? And the kind of songs, I mean, it's carnival, but come on, man. Let us do something better than that. I was I'm still very annoyed, you know. I am still very, very, very annoyed about it. There's nothing wrong in going to jump up before a short pant on you, a nice little short pant, you know, modestly dressed, but you're exposing your naked body like a baby that just born with nothing on them. Oh Lord, I don't know where we're heading to. I don't know, and it's the type of people that encouraging that thing, you know, so-called educated people and people in communities. I'm very annoyed. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Carla. Thank you so much. We certainly understand your concern. We have another call?
Yes, we do. Caller, please go ahead.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
Very interesting program.
Thank you.
I have one question to ask on that topic. Well, on Carnival Monday, I was about to applaud, you know, the ladies for at least having, have decent in terms of, you know, the dressing down. But when I passed back on Carnival Tuesday, I had to, like, you know, close my eyes, close my mind, go hide on a rock. But that was just too intense. So the question I want to ask is, what is going, what impression are these ladies trying to bring about? You know, what are they trying to achieve by doing that? Maybe we could just maybe solve the problem actually trying to get into their heads. You know, what outcomes are they trying to provoke? You know, what is the rationale behind all this dressing down to the point of absurdity? You know what I mean? Like the gentleman before me said, I watch a lady, a young girl, you know, she's like she's virtually naked. I mean, what's the point? You know, I'm sure if like I was telling somebody, I was joking to one of my friends, so I said, I'm sure if I pass on Ash Wednesday and they lift up a skirt, I'll end up in the police station. All right? So what is the point? What's the point they're trying to drive home to us? I don't get it. The second point is, earlier when I mentioned about the lyrics, right? That there has to be some legislation. That's very true. I mean, there has to be some legislative what I call it, hindrance to this kind of stuff because it's getting ridiculous right now. But even more than that, I think there has to be a societal pushback. Mm-hmm. You know, there has to be a societal pushback. There has to be the ordinary people on the street have to tell the people, look, you are being ridiculous. We do not like it. Stop it. You know, you are being offensive because the point is these people are only doing this because they want attention. Mm-hmm. You know, they want affirmation. You know, so you have to tell these people that what they're doing, they will not get affirmation from it. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, caller. Thank you for your contribution. Yes, so let's go ahead and take some of our comments on Facebook, guys. Thank you for being here. Julie Pollard, again, good evening to you. Hermelina Watson Duvernay, Auntie Hammy, nice to see you. She says, good evening to everyone on panel. I'm watching from Florida. Always great to have you on board. Janine Perez, say it louder, Miss Armour. So agreeing with everything that's been said. Hermelina Duvernay, I agree with you, Miss Armour. Lots of disgusting music on the road. Judith Cochran, good evening to you. She says, the bands need to play more calypso on the road so that the calypso songs could be judged appropriately. I mean, I swear all I heard was Celine Dion. Melina Duvernay again, some of the children, parents dancing to these songs. In front of their kids. Owen Prosper, great to see you. Good evening, Patriotic Family. I'm here, locked and listening. Talifa Charles, where do we draw the line? We teach our children how to be safe and to report sexual abuse, while on the other hand, touching them in their private places is glorified. God help us. Thank you so much for that comment. Owen Prosper, my people, we shouldn't forget that DA is not a real country. That's an unfortunate statement, Owen, but sometimes we have to wonder. Miss Duvany, I remember Scrunter had a song called Happiness, and they banned it on the radio. So what changed? My mom, Medina Senhouse, good evening to you. Patricia Fontaine, nobody sees, nobody knows. El Dika, let's see what El Dika is saying here. But the women enjoy these songs. Even the children start singing them as soon as the music strikes up. I am visiting, and when I heard the song and said, why this is so many children in the band, the young lady said, Dominicans are hypocrites. And if they never hear that, and how their children know about it more than the big people. So you guys, you're seeing our problem, right? Patricia Fontaine, funny, they are banning political calypso on radio, but they are playing this nonsense music on the radio. Patricia, if Patricia Mute, if these songs were foreign, Dominicans would have no issue with them. Okay, all points considered. Let's see who else we haven't heard from. Dave Bertrand, good evening. Dr. Simone, nice to have you on. Dave, all the way in the UK. Lyndon George, it's high time we call things by their name. The crap songs are not booyah music, but guys chanting. The last booyah band at Dominica was Raw Rhythm. The original Triple K band sang booyah music. The bands right now don't sing booyah. All you hear is one beat with guys chanting crap. Tina Bell, great to have you on. Janine Newton, what are they teaching our younger ones? No respect for themselves. I could not believe what I saw. Most women know their role. So all very good comments. So let us thank our callers as well as everyone who's posting a comment on Facebook. Guys, any thoughts on the comments that you want to share? Back to the panel.
Well, I think that we are seeing here that quite a few people are shocked as well. And when you stand up there, just what I said, that you think it's you alone, you don't want to say something, you're afraid to say something because you think people will say, why are you saying that? But you're standing in an environment where maybe 9 out of the 10 people are thinking the same thing as you and wishing somebody would say something. So, and this thing about Dominicans being hypocrites is very true. Dominicans are very hypocritical. I would be the first person to say that. So we have to watch. One thing is good, and the next thing, oh no, it's not. Look at what the comments are saying. You ban one thing, but this is acceptable. And it goes both ways. Hypocrisy goes both ways. But I mean, I don't want to harp more. I already brought the elephants into the room, and I felt as if I took us away from it spectacular. Because I want to just make one more comment on the comments. So please, I want the man that said Dominica is not a real country to let him know that Dominica is a real country. Dominica is my country, and it's a very real country with a lot of potential. Mm-hmm. Dominica has so much potential. Dominica was way ahead of the Caribbean game as far as selling something that was so unique. And everybody has copied what we have. Everybody that don't even have mountain have hiking. People that have dry, arid land have made forests for people to go into. And we are standing by idly and pretending like as if we don't have an economy and that we don't have a country. But we have a beautiful, beautiful country that has unparalleled things that we can offer to people, both local tourists who can go to visit other communities and tourists that come from overseas or other islands or international tourists. And I think that we can maybe segue into that comment.
Yeah, and Carla, I want to thank you for raising the elephant in the room because this is a topic that I meant to bring in as well. And especially when we see that this carnival, I was paying very close attention, not only to what was going on, but who was represented at that carnival. We saw our locals. We saw people, Dominicans from overseas. We saw people from the French neighboring islands. I was paying close attention. I saw St. Lucians. I saw Vincentians. I saw Guyanese. I saw people who were clearly tourists. So what that says to us is that we are on an international scale. We're on an international stage because these folks are going to go back to their respective homes and their respective countries and tell people about their experience in Dominica. Do we want them to tell the people that they go back to that, yeah, it just pretty much look like Trinidad Carnival? Or do we want them to go back and say, wow, that was so different and unique. And I want to encourage you to go on down to Dominica for the next carnival because it is an experience you cannot get anywhere else. So that is what I want us to come back to. The question that I asked before, how do we keep this as a sustainable, marketable product? We dissect the carnival, we dissect the culture, and we're going to sell it. So what can we do to keep this going year round? So Lorraine, let me come to you. Fashion, everyone is always looking to look good, feel good. Culture, fashion, how do we sustain it on a year round basis? Muted.
You're muted.
You're muted, Lorraine. That's okay.
Yeah, this was one of the things Ed Regis had in mind, and he was setting up a factory, a workshop, where a lot of the our local products like clothing could be produced right in Dominica. And I was going to be part of that project, but unfortunately it did not happen. He passed before while we were just in the early stages of putting it together. So I don't know, we have a new representative now, and he said he would take on where Ed left off, but so far we have not seen anything like it. But again, we would be able to produce our costumes in Dominica and not have to import it from Trinidad or wherever. And we could also put our own spin on the costumes. We don't have to copy. I think all these exposures you're seeing, they're just maybe trying to outdo other places. I think our authentic mass is very good and it's marketable. And we just have to expand on it and not copy what we see in Brazil, or Trinidad for that matter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And it's just that there was no continuity once Ed Regis transitioned on, because I'm seeing such great promise in our fashion designers in Dominica. We see, I believe the company was called Belanois, if I'm wrong, someone on Facebook, please correct me. And she produced quite a number of the gowns for the young lady. And I will come to Carla because I know she was involved in the Carnival Queen Show. So how do we promote these fashion designers year round? We have 2 different flying dress companies. We have several young ladies, and hopefully the guys will get in on this too, because I think it should be, everyone should be involved. But how do we encourage our young people who say Dominica has no jobs to become entrepreneurs and to go into the fashion business and show them that a business like Belanois can be sustained on a year-round basis, so that they too can jump into the action and they too can get a piece of that pie. So Lorraine, you're absolutely correct that we have to find a way to continue the dream that Ed Regis had, and it was already in the process. Why is it not being carried through?
Well, I spoke to Vince Henderson some months back, and he said he would contact me and we could get the project going, but so far nothing has happened. So I'm hoping that we can get together in the next couple of months and see if we can get things rolling again.
Mm-hmm.
Because it would be not only produce school uniforms and costumes, but it would be another, it would be a way where other designers could get their products produced.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it goes back to another conversation we had about agro-processing, that if there was one centralized kitchen, one centralized facility that our different agro-processors could use to get their products off, it would remove the overhead that many of our agro-processors face. So we see a need for national policies in Dominica around these areas, around the areas of agro-processing, around the areas of culture and fashion and design, and in so many other areas. Kenty, let me come to you. Is Kenty with us? Kenty, let me come to you. What do we do to sustain our musicians on a year-round basis?
Well, the musicians in Dominica is still very much struggling as it relates to getting our material global. The industry is still struggling tremendously. However, I think we can set up organizations here in Dominica where we can host our own, I mean, recently I've seen that we had an award and awarded some bands and some artists. But I think that we should be a little more consistent, because a lot of the artists, myself included, have been frustrated to the point where we almost don't want to do it anymore because it's not as lucrative as we know it can be. And I'm not going to sit here and make it sound like it's all bad. It's not all bad because we can put out material, but if you're not making a revenue from the material that you're putting out, then it basically is like you have to resort to other things that would take the time off from your creative genius. And that in itself, takes away from the quality of the material that you will produce, if you understand what I'm saying. I definitely think it starts from the top, all the way to the top. Invest in the right things, listen to musicians, because we know some of the things that we would love to see happen. And I think they should have like some type of meeting with some of the musicians in different constituencies. Listen to us, listen to what we need, and listen to the things that we need to be made available to us so that we can promote our the talents. Big shout out goes out to the artists that have been doing very well, the bands that have been doing well so far, but there are still a whole bunch of artists that are not being heard. Well, like I said, there could be a whole variety of different reasons why, but there's a lot of artists that are just like underrated artists in America that needs to go out there, and needs to be out there. And I think we have so much potential, like the young lady Carla was saying, we have so much potential in Dominica, but then, we just need to find a way how we can tap into that potential to make it global. And if we can only make it global, then it will be lucrative enough so that we can make a living of that. Because majority of musicians in Dominica cannot make a living off just music. And I'm not saying all of us, I'm just saying majority of us. You know what I mean? So I think it starts from the top. There should be certain things that is put in place so that the musicians can indeed make a living of our craft.
Yeah, and it also speaks to, we see organizations like the Association of Music Producers in Dominica, but we see these organizations form and then crickets, we hear nothing from them, right? So even if things are not going the way we would like them to do, we know with every organization there's going to be frustrations, they're going to be roadblocks. but come to us, the public, and say, hey, this is what our challenges are right now, but we want you to know that we are still in existence and we're still pushing for our musicians to have opportunities. But here are the challenges that we are facing right now. And I think that gives us a better sense that we know
Indeed.
that, these organizations are there, because now most people probably don't even remember about AMP. I mean, I remember them
Most
because
people.
I interviewed them.
Right. But another thing, Simone, another thing that we need to put aside in Dominica as a nation as well. We need to stop politicizing things, because if you what that is the one of the biggest problems in Dominica. Politicizing every single thing. And you have artists that will not get airplay on particular radio stations because they politicize, because of the politics involved. And that has nothing to do with anything. It's just you have a craft and you want your craft is like, anybody else with any type of talent. You have a talent and you want your talent to go out there, and then it will be stifled because of politics. And that is a big issue that we need to address in the country. That we need to put, unless we don't put that aside, and we have to decide, and you acknowledge people because of their actual gifts and not because of the political affiliation or whatever it is. I think we can go a lot farther if we stop politicizing things, and I think Lambi would agree with me.
Yes, and I agree with you as well. I think we all agree with you because, we saw it even this carnival where, the prime minister was pretty much trying to tell Calypsonians what they should and shouldn't sing. So that becomes a problem when our politicians are trying to get in the way of what our musicians should perform. So that is certainly not helping. But Audrey, let me come to you, and then Carla, I want to come back and talk about those sustainable costumes, because I think if we do not get one idea off the ground, I think that is one that we can all work towards to create that authentic Dominica experience and include our culture, include various aspects of our culture, but make it beautiful and appealing. So that is the challenge. So how do we do that? So Carla, I'm going to come to you for that one. But Audrey, let me come to you as you tell us more about how you are passing along our culture year round, and, the challenges that you face with the Dominica Orlando movement in Florida.
Okay. Well, I mean, most of us, I mean, we all know that when we look at the diaspora altogether, like a large percentage of Dominicans in the past, 40 something, 50 something years migrated from Dominica. So when we migrated, we went with the talent. For example, we have Lorraine over here. We have Carla. We have you, Simone. We have Audrey. I mean, we all left Dominica, but we left through the talent. And when that happened, that's resources that left Dominica. Okay, so now we are all in the diaspora, and we're in different areas, different countries, different. I mean, I visit some states, and I am like, my son was driving in Chicago, and the car he was driving had like the Dominica flag, and then he said this lady continued following him, so he was like, why is it not the lady? But he said, why is this person following me? And then he was like, okay, that looked funny. So he just drove into a gas station to see. And the lady drove up and she was like, you from Dominica? So he was like, no, my mom sent that car to me, but I had the Dominica flag on it, So that's just telling you like how much like Dominicans, I mean, my son is part of me, so he's technically Dominican. And how much we have migrated. However, in the diaspora, it is so difficult to get together. And it's different. It's the challenge is like we have that where we used to do it back in the village. It's easier to form a group and sustain that group when we're in our village, because everybody goes to church. They announce it after the service that they have a meeting and everybody come to the meeting. When you're in the diaspora, the dynamics is different. People work different hours. The holidays are different. If I have a vacation, if I have a holiday, doesn't mean Simone has the same holiday. So it's difficult to get everybody to come to a meeting. So what we do, I'm so proud to say that the Dominica Orlando movement was actually one of the diaspora group that actually kept it together during COVID. A lot of the diaspora group, I infiltrated some of the groups, like for St. Vincent group, kept it together, but like the Antigua group and the St. Kitts group, they fell apart during COVID because it was difficult keeping everyone together. So what we've been working on is to try to put our name out there with the other countries. We've been meeting with other countries, and fortunately enough, last year, 2022, was one of the first year I've seen on our events that we have that we had so many people supporting us from other countries, from Trinidad and Jamaica. What we are working towards, our goal, which we started from the beginning, it was to get Dominica, not just get our name out there, but to keep our name out there. And we campaign about it day in, day out. So what we can do in the diaspora is actually, it will be so good. And we're going to be working on that, is to get all the diasporas leaders together.
Mhm.
If we can get together as one and communicate and build something in the diaspora, we will start utilizing the resources.
Mhm.
Just for example, I mean, Lorraine is right here, and when kind of Independence Time comes around, I have at least 10 people asking me if I know anyone that can sew quail dresses.
There you have
If
it.
I know where they can get a quail dress, they want to dress up, they want to, I mean, that's true. I had to, it's crazy.
And Audrey, if I can just jump in real quick, and mind you, Lorraine gifted me a Creole outfit for 2021. And again, I want to thank her for that. So imagine I live in the Atlanta area, Lorraine lives in Canada.
Yeah.
I took my measurements and she produced the most elegant Creole costume that I still wear up to this year. I'm still wearing it.
Yeah.
So the collaboration
The
is
collaboration, because we need to do that, because my goal and our group on a whole is to get, I mean, we work closely with Doreen Shillingford because she's
yes.
based in Tampa. And then I work with some other from other countries, other islands. But the goal is to get all the aspirant leaders together, and then we can get the names of resources.
Mhm.
Who is the best person to? How many seamstresses we have when we need to when we need outfits for Dominica? And once we can get that together in the diaspora, regardless of what country you're in, then we can take that and start building on and showcasing Dominica. So when Carnival time comes, the diasporas will create the bands up here. We will have our own band. If it's the Orlando group, it will be a parade. Because I'll be honest with you, I know I had an appointment in the afternoon, but at one time I was watching the parade and the street was empty.
Mhm.
I'm not sure how many bands they had on, but it was empty, and that it was not so back in the days. Like parade was going on, the bands was going on. So if we can get more of the diaspora forming like the parades and come down, it will bring back Dominica together. Now, do I want to showcase Dominica? Of course I want to showcase Dominica. Do I do that every day? Of course. I speak to clients every day. I deal with clients every day. And when they say, well, where's your accent from? I say, Dominica. They say, oh, you're not Jamaica. I say, no,
So
I'm
no.
from Dominica. And then the next thing I will guide them to go to YouTube. I'll ask them to go to David's Vineyard. They will see some of the food he eat. Those things. I'll say, go to YouTube. However, we were just having a conversation. We just spoke about the songs. I really do not. We go right back to what Carla just said and what we all re-emphasize about. Do you want to go on YouTube and let somebody listen to that song? No. So that's what I'm saying. At the end of it all, we have to start from the top. If we don't start from the top and we don't put censorship in place, it's going to go back to social media. And when it's on social media, everybody sees social media.
Mhm.
So we have to stop it somewhere before it gets out there, because we are working hard. We are working very hard out here. I know my group, Dom is working. I mean, we keep the culture alive in Orlando.
Mhm.
We do everything. We do our fish fry, we do our dominoes, we do our fry, we do our bakes and fish, we do all of that stuff. And then we do quail in the park, which is like Independence in the Park, which is like quail in the park. We had the biggest support last year. So we try our best to keep it alive. But we want to be able to advertise it. So when we could send someone online to look for Dominica, it is something positive, because it's trickle down. It's a domino effect. We have to work from the top to get down.
Yeah, and Audrey, that is a brilliant idea because we have so many passionate Dominica associations that I've connected with, and coming together, bringing them together is a great way because we keep starting from scratch over and over again. But if we have resources that we can share, that makes it so much more productive to do what we're trying to do for Dominica. So again, I want to congratulate you for what you're doing because not every Dominica association makes it. The one in Atlanta is no longer in existence. And I would love to see it come back to life and be able to showcase who we are and what we do here in Atlanta. But unfortunately, it is not in existence anymore. So I just want to thank you for the work that you're doing, and I want you to continue with that effort, and I want to be a part of that collaboration. So in any
Yes.
way, if we can pull the resources together, I think that is a fantastic idea. So thank you again for sharing on that.
And you know what,
Carla,
Simone?
yes.
We don't call one thing that we kept solid on from the beginning. We are not politically affiliated. That's
Yep.
the number one thing. I think that's one of the things that kept us like, we don't, this politics is like not
Yes.
here. That's
It
one of the
kills
things.
everything. It kills political lines, kills everything. Carla, let's come to you. Sustainable Carnival. So if you're just joining us, if you join us late, we are dissecting our culture. We're dissecting our carnival and we're trying to figure out what can we market and sell to the rest of the world to ensure financial opportunities on a year-round basis, not only at Carnival, not only at the festivals, not only at the different village fests, but what can we create marketable products that we can sell on a yearly basis to sustain our carnival? Because I have to tell you, when I think of my thoughts of Carnival 2023, and Carla, I'm coming to you, the first thing that comes to mind is the conversations we were having during COVID, where we were talking about, the cancellations of Carnival does not only impact the musician, the performers, those involved in the festival, but it impacts the hairdressers, the boutique owners, the restaurants, the taxi operators. It impacts everyone. So when I see the magnitude of our 2023 Carnival, I think of the opportunities to earn a living by all these various parts of our society, right? And I think back to 2021 where we had the virtual carnival. We had sponsors such as Q95 FM radio come on board and create sponsorships to employ our DJs virtually. And now I'm looking at Facebook and I'm seeing DJ Slim posting a message that he is so overwhelmed with opportunities that folks are sending him messages to say, stay hydrated and get some rest. So to me, that is very exciting because it says to me that we have now created economic opportunities for so many different sectors of our society. But the question we're asking tonight is how do we sustain this beyond the Carnival 2023 season? So Carla, let me come over to you for your thoughts.
Wow, wow, wow. Well, okay. So there's lots to be said here. And I want to make some points on Kenty's comment as well, which I think is what I want to open up my comments with. And he talked about the as artist, and he's musician, and he's talking about staying in his creative zone, but You can't do that because you're distracted with how you're going to make money. Because you have to then leave your creative, your it's really a zone that you get into, and you have to go and get a job to make money. And therein, I think, is the problem for us, or the issue. I don't actually use the word problem, it's issue. In that we have to look at the creative services, or what we call creative industries. It's actually called the orange economy. They have the blue economy, they have the green economy, you know about those things, but very little is really, very little attention, I feel, in Dominica is given to the orange economy. And that is the economy of ideas and intellectual property, thoughts, services that come from the creativity of a country or of a community. And so if we can treat it exactly like part of the economy, whether it's the agricultural economy, the tourism economy, we look at the creative economy and the orange economy and give it its due. So give it funding. There's no funding for artists, grants in Dominica that would give artists to write a project, which then maybe the artist would have to work with an organization or a partner or a coach, like I would, and work with that person to say, okay, let's see what you really want to do, how many hours you need, what kind of funding you need to support you while you put your energies directly into that. Where can we get this funding? Now, when he gets this funding, for instance, let's look at a band. When they actually create their designs and they have to make those designs, it then feeds money into all of the other communities and all the other sectors of those industries. So it's not like you're just giving that person money, but you're giving that person money so that you can help him to sustain so many other people getting money. So a lot of people just think, oh, you're just giving that fellow money, but they don't realize the repercussions around it. So we can look at really giving acknowledging the value of the orange economy. And that's what really my small company, Vetiver Inc. in Dominica, is all about. It's the heritage, the experiences. It's the looking at regenerative tourism based on the creative contribution into the experiences of whatever people buy here, whether it's, as I said before, local tourists or international tourists. Okay, so let's take that a little bit deeper. And let me just open up some notes I was writing here while you were talking. Okay, I talked about the grants. I talked about the recognition for the orange economy, and then maybe I can post a little bit more about that later. Okay, let us look, for instance, at the Calypso show and the Queen show. And it's remiss of me if I didn't say congratulations to all of the competitors. Because yes, congratulations to the winners, the Monarch and the Queen, our new Miss Dominica 2023 at the Suburban. Congratulations to all of the competitors because those shows were tight.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys and ladies came out with really their A game. You could see their teams worked, they gave good presentations. But I have to again wake up the elephant in the room and feel that the venue, the presentation, the delivery of these shows was lacking. If we consider that our Queen show and our Calypso shows is probably our highest theatrical presentations that we have in the island, why isn't it that they are delivered in spaces where people are not getting wet in the rain, or in spaces where even if you're in a stand, you can see over the umbrellas? Maybe the stage should be higher, lit up better. Why can't we just do the same thing as World Creole Music Festival and look at the presentations that these people are giving with such reverence that the aspiration of other creatives is lifted up, and then everybody's expectations is lifted up. And so when people want to get involved into those things, and the industries that support these shows realize, wait a minute now, that is high level stuff I'm being involved in, So I think that delivery of our experiences needs to be upped a notch. Okay, kudos to the organizers, because you could see that this show was at a real high level. I felt that the Queen show was really a good delivery, but it's the venue. For me, it was lacking. And I'm sure a lot of you that were standing in the rain and getting dripped on the backs by other people's umbrellas can say the same thing. People in the stands, you can't see the stage because the umbrellas go above the stage. So things like that, I think the repercussions the repercussions of just these elements raised in the game are far more widespread than we can think just off the cuff. We have to think deeply. If we did that, if we raised that level and we raised that level, wow, what would we have? What is the legacy of that showman for the next year? People around the world will see things on that level. So that's one thing I want to see. Now, I wanted to talk a little bit about the sustainable year-round, but also I'm going to come into the costumes as well as the combination of my points. And I wanted to say something about my experience with the people from Good Hope. Wonderful small group of people that came as the Black Devils. You can look at them. They're online on the Dominica festivals. We covered a little bit of them. And just the whole experience was so incredible. So first of all, what they put on their bodies, what we put on our bodies, my skin is still feeling beautiful from it. Was that very finely ground coal, and then they charcoal, and then they put brown sugar in there. We went on the river bank of the Roseau River behind Alias Castle there, put some water in that in some pots, and then each of us were already dressed in our black clothing, but started to apply it to each other so that we could cover ourselves without any part of ourselves showing. And just that whole sensation of having somebody touch your body and massage this like a scrub into your body, into every crevice, all inside my ears. I feel I was people like to know me. I never met before. But the camaraderie, the sensation, what you felt in that experience was something I had never experienced before, Then we went out there and you're being mischievous, you're putting on a whole different persona. And then when you come out of this performance on stage, on the road, because the road is our stage, you have to take it off, right? So I went back to the river and I'm sitting in the little bassinet there, and my rocks are in the river wash of me, and I'm washing myself. And then, I'm going to give you just a little bit of what I experienced. I was lying in the river there. I was the first person to get there. And across down the bridge, I could see one at a time them cross the bridge. And it was these creatures, these black creatures with their wigs and their things, the accoutrements of this performance coming across the bridge. And then one at a time, they would emerge from the bushes on the riverbank and then start to strip off their clothes. And at the riverbank start to wash themselves. And at one point, one of these, the guys, they would jump in and swim across. The little boys, they were a couple of little boys. And again, that goes, I want to talk about just the next generation coming into that experience. And then this woman, she stripped off her clothes. And then when she stripped off her bra, you could see her bare, unblackened breasts against her black skin. And when she washed her face and you saw it just stripped off, it was just theater.
Mm-hmm.
I just said to them, afterwards, when everybody looked human again, and we realized that we were just humans. And it was almost like a primate thing, and we were touching each other. Oh my God, you're so handsome. Because you came out from being a little devil to a real man, a real woman. It was so beautiful, And I want to go to Good Hope. I want to see how can we create an experience for tourists to go in the day or 2 or 3 in the community of Good Hope with community tourism. What do you experience with them? You teach them about how you grind this coal. This coal is a body scrub. It's a healthy thing. What do you eat when you have these community gatherings? When you're talking about this, when you're drumming, can you teach people what you drum? What about blowing these horns? What about dressing up? Where does this come from? This is so funny that you can then have these people experiencing things year-round with a community that may not have.
That is authentic Dominican.
Exactly. And then that is hyping up all through the year. And imagine now, instead of having a dozen or 20 people in a band, You have 500 black devils, mischievous, menacing, coming on the roads with their drummers and their horns, and they're coming up. Can you imagine that legacy? Where else can you find this? But in Dominica. Hello, people. We don't make it. There's potential. And that's just one example of something that could come out of the orange economy.
Yeah, and that is beautiful. That is beautiful, Carla. So go ahead. We're running out of time, but go ahead, Carla. I want to hear more.
Costume. When you look at what the people weave, the screw pine, the lauma, look at Odysseus' costume. Look in detail at her costume. It was made with woven fibers from the Kalinago territory, right? You can look at her headdress when she took her photography. Beautiful. Why can't these things be made? And we know we've seen it with Nadira was before. We've seen it with Francilia before. We've seen other attributes of costumes with the llama, with screw pine. Why can't we take the screw pine and make the leaves? Why can't we take the fronds of the palm and take the spines and find ways to mold them to make these costumes? Why can't we use the dyes, the turmeric, the different dyes in our nature? Why can't we grind the stones and make these silvers and all these colors? I mean, you can go online and you see Carol Sorrento. She's experimenting with all of these, and she's a Dominican artist. She's lived in England many years. She's doing beautiful, creative stuff with her art. She was just in Trafalgar Square with all these globes. You can go and look her up as one of these artists representing a Dominican woman.
Yeah, and I spoke to her. Yes, I know Carol. Yes.
I mean, it is limitless what we can do here.
But you know, Carla, it begs the question: how do we move forward on this? It begs the question because those are brilliant ideas that we've all shared this evening. But what is the stumbling block? How do we move forward on this?
I think where I started with the funding. So if we don't have the patronage, we don't have the sponsorship, we don't have the funding, there is money internationally available. But you don't have a mechanism where, because each entrepreneur has to go and do it themselves. You talked about Belanois. You talked about people in America are so talented, so skilled. You know, I mean, I used to have people sewing for me, stitching for me when I had my Caravana line. I had clothing lines twice a year. I covered with lines and fashion shows. I had local people making even shoes, bags, clothes. Yes, local companies. It can be done again. But what it is that we need to have a mechanism where we can have an organization that just works with the creatives within the orange economy to see how we can sit down and source and tap into international funding and bring that here. Whether we have to partner with Creed, partner with our cultural division, partner with international organizations, whether it's UNESCO, international funding, and get money into the country, get those grants written up, get those proposals written up, the grant proposals written up, get the business plans written up for creatives, because a lot of creatives don't have business plans because it's something that comes natural to us. And this is what we can sell to the outside world. It's what, listen to me, I did my master's degree in 2008 and I was already talking about it because that's what I grew up in. My parents were selling experiences since the 70s, bringing people to the Kalinago territory, bringing the people up to Tetmon to see them weaving, bringing them, Tropicrafts used to be weaving. Tourists used to go and visit that. No tourists are what are they doing? Buying trinkets made in China and on the front. Hello.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Yes, thank you. Some brilliant ideas. So, guys, I know you want to chime in. Kenty, go ahead.
Let me interject a little bit, just because I am so like bubbled up by the way passion.
Oh yeah.
That Carla is speaking about those things, and I can only working in tourism industry for such a long period of time. I know those are the things that the tourist wants to see. It's like, imagine we have a cruise ship terminal that can harbor about 5 or 6 cruise ships, and then you have those black devils things and those masks and things, and we create an industry in Dominica where we provide people with that type of entertainment,
Mm-hmm.
and it becomes a lifestyle and it becomes work. You know, like I don't have to leave my 9 to 5 and be thinking like, boy, I need to get out of work so that I can go and put my black paint on me. You know, I know that the cruise ship is coming and I have a schedule, and that is what I'm going to be doing for work. And my work is to
It's your
show my
passion.
culture to the tourists that is coming to my country.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think if there is that financial structure, like Carla was saying, there is it is limitless to what we can do with just what we did Monday and Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Exactly.
limitless. Like the amount of things that can come out of that economically. You know, we can start traveling, you know, and showing different parts of the Caribbean, different parts of the world, our culture.
But
Yep.
what we
That
have to do first is we have to
is in place.
do it so well before people steal it and do it better than us. Because this
Yep.
is what Dominicans are good at. Giving away our intellectual property, giving away all our expertise, and then other people copy us and then making more money than us. We have to stop that nonsense. We have to establish that we are the ones that can do it the best. And don't
Copyright.
teach.
I agree. I agree. I agree.
Absolutely. Lorraine, your thoughts? We're getting ready to wind down, guys. The time went by too quickly. You're muted, Lorraine. You're muted. Lorraine, you're muted. I don't think she's hearing us. Lorraine, you're muted. You're muted.
Yeah, what Kenty spoke about, promoting the culture during the tourist season with the different types of our authentic costume. I find this is a great idea, but we need the funding to do that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and basically that is what we're doing up here in Toronto all during the year, is showcasing our culture.
Because imagine having somewhere like the museum that's on the bayfront, having a facility like that where we have the display of the culture on a screen, right? So we have Carnival shown on the TV, and then you just have a little section to say, here, this is how we weave our costumes together. Here, you can be a part of it, you can experience it. We're giving you a taste of it. And then people say, wow, that was such an interesting experience. I'll come back for Carnival. So we create the opportunity on a year-round basis. We have those involved in the costume building readily available. So they are employed year-round, and they're showing the costumes, they're showing, the artistry, and giving the tourists, because tourists come for an experience. When you think about it, I used to be a flight attendant. I've been to all the islands. We all pretty much look the same, right? But the idea is, how is my experience in Dominica different from my experience, especially in a place like St. Lucia that is so similar to Dominica, right? So rather than just go pick up another trinket, another doll, you have the experience of saying, when I went to Dominica, I actually got to participate in building a costume. So that was my experience. And boy, I can't wait to go back to the carnival, go back to the festival to see that costume in its full glory. Right? So I think that is what we have to think along the lines of. We have to think of along the lines of, what is authentic? What do we need to continue to pass on? And what can we market and sell? So Audrey, let me come to you for your final thoughts, and then we have to take a couple more comments before we wind down.
Carla had some great ideas, but overall, the vision, we need funding for Dominica, a lot of funding for all of this project. But before we can get to the funding, we need people we need visionaries to get to that creative path. If you don't have visionaries, if you want a different result, you have to change.
Yeah.
You cannot be doing the same thing and expect some changes. And as much as we need the funding, and all of that is fine and dandy, but at the end of the day, the creativity is there. Dominicans are very creative to do what they have to do, and we all have it in there. But whoever is going to give us the funding to get all of this together, have to have the vision to see forward. I mean, if I look at a BET thing one night, there was like 4 different small islands, like as you say, St. Lucia was one of them, which was about advertising their tourism in St. Lucia. BET is a huge African American platform, and it's been going on for years with that award ceremony, and the vision is not there to think outside the box. Like, can we just go ahead and put one of our tourism beautiful waterfall flowing to advertise? And that's where on my level I look at the diasporas, because I say, as a diaspora, what we need to get forward, because our voice can be heard out here, is collaboration.
Yep.
We have to learn to collaborate with each
The
other
word.
and
That's
use the resources that we have here, so that we can help those back home to get that creativity in check. Because overall, I think if we have to wait on the funding from down there, I don't see much of it happening, because we cannot be expecting something different if nothing has changed. We really have to get the diasporas to join with those back home, and then we can get it together, because we have more people out than what's inside.
Yeah, and I'm happy we're talking about funding, because like Carla said earlier, it begins with the end of Carnival 2023. We should already be planning for 2024. Trinidad spends the whole year planning for Carnival the next Carnival, because it's a complete industry, right? And the word of the decade is merchandise. How many Dominicans left Dominica and have absolutely no memorabilia of Carnival 2023? They don't have a t-shirt that says Masalawi, right? Everybody should have some sort of memorabilia. Shopify, the different bands, the Calypso Association is always complaining about lack of funding. Change is the only constant. We have to move with the change. And what we're seeing emerging now is the sale of merchandise, right? So Mighty D just won road match. There should be a t-shirt. There should be something that I can go on a store, on a Shopify, an internet store right now, and buy a t-shirt that says road match king, right? Who have, who don't have. To me, we have to constantly keep looking. The entertainment industry is a billion-dollar industry. We have to look at what is Trinidad selling. How can we tweak what Trinidad is selling and sell it from Dominica instead? Merch. I would love to have a mug that says Adicia Burton, Kalinago Queen 2022, Kalinago Carnival Queen 2023, because she has 2 crowns. She's the Kalinago Queen of 2022, and she's the Carnival Queen of 2023. I would love to have a little t-shirt to give to my daughter with the princess, the Dominica princess. Where is the merchandise for sale? Last year we were all singing Coco for sale. We should be singing Culture for sale, and figure out every opportunity to package, market, and sell everything that is authentically Dominican. But guys, what a powerful conversation this evening. I want to thank Carla Armour, Lauren Delson, Audrey George, Kenty, Sejan for being a part of our conversation as we dissected Carnival and culture, and we talked about not only passing it on to the next generation, but how can we create marketable products. We know that the authorities that listen to Q95 day in, day out, night and day. So we hope that they will consider some of the ideas, but I have to read this message that Rasmus sent to me. And I also want to thank Tad for his contribution. He talks about the importance of maybe changing the date. When he called me, he said, think about it, Simone. The winter months are the worst months for travel. How many people, we think of traveling from Miami, but those who are coming from further afield might get stuck in a snowstorm. What is the consideration? for changing the date for Carnival. He also mentioned the importance of what Carla talked about, the importance of providing grants to our young people so that they too can get into the action. So I want to thank everyone who sent me a message to say that they would like to make a contribution. And here is what Rasmo Moses sent. He says, interesting topic. Opportunities exist for marketing. Mas Alawi, without a translated subheading, misses the mark regarding our branding. Trinidad says, mother of all carnivals. So that is the brand for Trinidad, mother of all carnivals, and earned titled regardless of Brazil. Dominican imitation of Brazil and Trinidadian costumes and creative ideas is self-defeating. An original Creole mask rooted in African and Kalinaga culture is a seller. Each of our original masquerade characters has a story to be told. Investment in our traditional Lapocabwe drumming with the large contingents of drummers, masqueraders, and dancers at home and abroad, emphasizing Creole and Kalinago stories, characters, and history. Creatives should be engaged continuously in an industry rather than a hobby. If one views the Trinidad and Tobago 2023 Calypso competition, one would see and hear a large percentage of patriotic songs expressing pride and love of country. This sells the country as a place to visit. We are losing such a level of commitment to promoting a sacred, blessed, and unique culture. Stepping up branding and marketing will help a lot. Rasmo, I don't think any one of us here this evening could have said it better. Lambi, do we have a call? Okay, so I don't think we could have said it any better. So again, I want to thank everyone who joined us, our Q95 listeners worldwide, Dominica, the Caribbean, and the rest of the world, our Facebook and YouTube viewers on Q95 FM radio. Let's just take a couple of comments before we head out. Janine Newton, what are they teaching our young ones? No respect for themselves. I could not believe what I saw. I think we read this one. Mathieu Alexander, Dominica needs to move towards God, away from these people. Emma Williams, young people, Jesus is the answer, no carnival. Jesus, we need you more. Let's see who else we have. David Joseph. Vince Henderson at this time is much more concerned with geothermal, where he has a vested interest than anything else, period. Carlson Shillingford, good evening to you, Carlson. Nice to have you on board. Wynant Jones, the costume designers need to have workshops to sharpening the skills. I remember there was a workshop with Peter Minshall from Trinidad, who came to Dominica to teach us techniques in design. David Joseph, let's be brutally honest here. Everything in Dominica is seasonal, hence the reasons why we are unable to sustain, maintain, and export anything cultural in a land blessed with arid soil and abundance of water. We are not able to export agriculture produce on a large scale. In a land with an abundance of water, we don't have a water-based industry, much less we have regressed so far that it is a crying shame. So Guy, thank you for being here. Giselle, Charles, can we put the names of the artist people so we can look them up and get more information? Guys, if you want, you can type your name and any social media contacts in the comments area so that folks can look you up. Giselle, thank you for that idea. Let's take one more comment before we go. Let's see who we have. Let's see. I think that's Carla Rasmo. Thanks so much. You have summarized all the comments and thoughts as usual. Miss you down in DA. And your company is called Vedivert Inc., Carla?
Sorry, yes, it is.
Yes.
I forgot I was muted. Yes.
And Marcia, great job, ladies and gents. Awesome response. Audrey, George. Yes, guys. So thank you. Thank you, Lambie. Thank you, Showing. Thank you, Mr. G, the Q95 family, DJ Sean, the panel. Thank you for being here for this important conversation. Again, you've been listening to Roots Connections on Q95 Radio. I'm your host, Simone Mathieu, and it is always wonderful to be here with you as we continue to tap in to the expertise of our Dominican brothers and sisters at home and abroad. Try to reverse that brain drain that has been plaguing our region by tapping into their expertise to secure the future of Dominica. Of course, keep it locked to Q95DA.com for all the best in programming. And also talking about collaboration with the Dominican diasporas. Don't forget to jump on pushpast10.com, PUSHPAST10, to see all the ways that we are collaborating as we continue to invest in me, invest in us. For 2023, we have educational opportunities going. We have opportunities with the Eastern Caribbean Central Securities. We also just recently started a new opportunity called Kudmed 365, where we're going to start teaching our young people at home the importance of community service. Right? So we need to get our young people, especially, away from the idea of dependence, away from the idea of begging for everything that they need. So Kudnet 365, and I want to thank our anonymous donor who sent a number of pair of shoes as well as personal hygiene products to Dominica. This is the second time she has done so this year. And what we are asking those who are interested in getting a brand new pair of shoes for your child is simply to send us a picture of your child offering a community service. So it doesn't matter. It can be your child going to the shop for a neighbor. It can be your child helping her younger sibling do homework. We want to see a picture of your child providing a service to the community. And in exchange for that, we are offering each child a free pair of shoes. Because I personally, I am not in the business of donations for free. I don't think it serves anyone when we simply give items away for free. So for more information, you can send me an email at pushpast10@gmail.com, pushpast10@gmail.com. And we have a comment from Alvin Thomas. Alvin, great to see you. Simone, while I understand the rationale expressed for changing the date for Carnival, the period and dates during which Carnival falls has a significance historically, a historical perspective. Would New Orleans change their Mardi Gras celebration? Yes, a good question, Alvin, and it's great that we're having this conversation. So as you can see, we have a whole lot more to discuss. So I hope that we will continue this conversation and we will continue to promote Dominica and figure out ways to provide financial opportunities for our Dominican brothers and sisters at home and abroad. So guys, again, thank you for being here, the panel, the listeners, the Q95 viewers. Have yourself a wonderful evening until we meet again right back here in 2 weeks. So we will see you then. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Have a good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Joe! Rastafari.